And now, broadcasting on StarWorldWideNetworks.com, it's time for the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show with Snowden Bishop. Listen in as Snowden interviews cannabis industry pioneers, marijuana experts, policymakers, medical practitioners, patients, and other amazing individuals with compelling stories to share. It all happens right now. Here's the Cannabis Reporter, Snowden Bishop.
Welcome back to the Cannabis Reporter Radio Show. I wanted to go off script a little bit to acknowledge the traumatic and tragic events that have occurred around the world lately. Like so many, I have a heavy heart and send prayers and condolences to those who have lost loved ones. These days, the events like this really highlight the need for healing and an end to some of the injustices that have come to light. I can't help but think that the cannabis movement can, in many ways, help with the emotional scars as well as treating the medical conditions. Education is key, and we hope we can contribute in some small way. Last week, we spoke with Chef Payton Curry, who told me about edibles, which are becoming very popular among patients who don't like to inhale their medicine. As he explained, getting the dosage right can be challenging. And since edible medicine is absorbed through digestion, it can take up to an hour to feel the full effects. Those who aren't familiar with the delay may think it's not working and take more. If the dose is high in THC, that can lead to a rather intense euphoric experience. That may be good for some of those who like the euphoria, but for those who don't enjoy getting high, or for those who need to function during the day, it can be an uncomfortable problem. One of my guests today has solved this problem. His name is Tony Alfieri. He's a self-educated scientist who has developed a new accelerant technology to expedite the delivery of THC taken orally. Before I introduce him, though, I'd like to circle back to my very first interview on the Cannabis Reporter with New York State Assemblyman Dr. Stephen Katz. And in case you haven't heard it, Dr. Katz is a veterinarian who developed Therabis, a line of therapeutic cannabis treatments for canines. Okay, so now you're wondering what veterinarian medicine has to do with accelerated delivery of THC and oral medicine for humans. Bear with me, there's a reason I brought it up. Tony Alfieri's technology is being applied to the next generation of Therabis treatments for animals, which was developed by Dr. Stephen Katz and Jim Sharkey, who's the chief scientist for Therapist. I'm happy to say that all three of them are here with me today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I would like to start with you, Tony, because this accelerant technology, tell me a little bit about this and how you came to develop it.
Well, I developed the formulation when helping a friend with a brain tumor, and she was looking for cannabis solutions for, dealing with the symptoms in day-to-day life. And over several years of working with her and seeing the side effects of an edible where you're being processed with the liver and it makes you go to sleep and all the dosage issues, we came to the realization that we had to figure out a better way. We had to bypass the liver. We had to absorb before the liver, and we had to use a high dosage. So, the Quigley's effect, if you will, is the result of years of trying to help a friend who was sick and dying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and then how did you come to work with Therabis on this?
That's a great story. Through a bunch of incredible coincidences, Stephen Katz and I met in a conference in Las Vegas, and we were at a table together talking, and he was talking about pets and how he wanted to incorporate cannabis and CBD into his formulation he'd been using for so many years in his clinic. And we got to talking, and a few months later, we got into business.
Okay.
The first day that we worked together on formulation, I knew that this was it. This was going to be my partner for a long, long time.
Right.
He was that day. He was a virtual MacGyver of trying to figure out an impurity in one of our compounds, and it was truly amazing to watch him. What he did with a spoon and a lighter to find out what was wrong.
Spoon and a lighter.
Spoon and a lighter, and we found out.
Piece of aluminum foil.
And a piece of aluminum foil.
That sounds a little bit nefarious.
It does. It sounds worse than it was, but we didn't have our lab set up at the time, so you deal with what you've got. We had to play with some raw ingredients.
And he was able to identify the impurity in it by using those three things. And I was so impressed at the end of that I I knew that, and we had a great time that day working together, and it was just one of those very special moments where I knew right there I had a partner for life.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Jim Sharkey, how did you fit into this equation when the two of them got together as mad scientists?
Well, I met Tony because I worked for a patent law firm as a technical specialist, and Tony's patent was assigned to me to write, and so I wrote the patent, worked with him, and then he had some issues with little things he was working out with Quigley's that were more definitely chemistry in nature, and I just had a good feeling and helped him out on my own time, and next thing I know, he offers me a job and brought me into Katz, so that's how it all kind of worked out. So that was another coincidence. So it's just kind of been very serendipitous,
right?
Kind of thing.
Serendipitous chain of events.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He gave me his personal phone number and spoke with me for hours on end. On his own personal time outside of work. While he's living his life to help me out, and we had an opportunity to grab him, and he was free, so we had to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and this is going into the next generation of therapists, correct?
Yes. But essentially anything that's got a liquid base is going to have Quigley's, isn't it? The Quigley's accelerant in it.
Okay. And Quigley's is a maker of human elixirs.
Quigley's is a product of Noble Blends, who has technology that we license for adult use, recreational use, medical use products, as well as pets currently.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's our family of product and companies.
Yeah, and so the benefit for animals really is that because obviously they're not going to tell you if they're still in pain after they have.
The best thing about something like that for me is you get no better satisfaction from both the client, the patient, and the veterinarian when you see something actually work within the 10 to 15 minutes that you have with them in your office exam room.
Right.
Okay, I could cite precious few examples where you see that happen. Okay, one is when you get the little chihuahua who has low blood sugar and it looks like he's about to die, and I put a little Cairo syrup in there, and 5 minutes later, jumping around, and I have a client for life for that. And so there's huge. Nothing more rewarding than that. And with the accelerant formulation, I can see the same results with the different products and formulations that we're coming up with.
Yeah, and I imagine that this is going to be particularly good for those instances where there are loud noises, like, for instance, the 4th of July.
Yes.
And you need to have instantaneous results.
Perfect example. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Or people who are going to be going, or say people who have a dog in the car. Right. And didn't realize it was going to be as loud and obnoxious as he's turning out to be, and then you give him a little bit of the of next generation, and voila, you got 5 to 10 minutes later a nice quiet doggy.
Yeah, and that's actually a more humane way to treat your animal than
wonderful.
Putting him out in the back of the car with a leash and letting him run alongside National Lampoon's Vacation.
Right,
for example.
And didn't presidential assumptive Romney put his dog on the top of his car rack? Wasn't that one of the? I think that was why he lost the election.
It very well could be. It very well.
So
could
a little
be.
therapist could make the difference between winning and losing the election.
Right. Had he had therapists, we'd have a different president of the United States.
Wow,
right
the
now.
world could have changed.
Okay, sorry. Part of our
we digress back into politics.
Okay, sorry.
But when you consider that something as useful as veterinary medicine can benefit from cannabis, right?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
When you look at the politics of that, you wonder why cannabis in general is such a political issue.
And the funny thing about it, the disconnect to me is incredible in that you've got the New York Times, one of the primary spokesmen for the left, for the Democratic point of view in the United States. You've got the National Review, one of certainly the media of record for the conservative movement.
Right.
And you've got the New England Journal of Medicine, which is certainly the journal of record for medicine in the United States of America, all agreeing that adult use cannabis should be legalized nationally.
Right.
Now, why there's a disconnect from those primary political outlets and what you see in terms of resistance from both sides,
right?
Okay, to me is as perplexing as you could come up with, especially now that we have clinical trials that are supportive of different absolutely positive responses to some of the various compounds that you have in the cannabis plant.
Right. Well, rescheduling cannabis has on the DEA's list of narcotics is now part of the Democratic platform, but it still is just, it boggles my mind.
You don't want to just reschedule CBD.
It's,
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because there's more to the cannabis plant and the cannabinoids that are effective in a medicinal manner that, by God, go back to 1936 and forget about 1937 to the present, which is an absolute, going back to the Stone Age as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
The nerve of these people to be having, for them for the medical community, the medical industrial community, to get the people of our country addicted to oxycodone, narcotic opioids, synthetic and natural, and not be able to prescribe at very least medicinal marijuana nationwide and have national recognition of this, both by the change in the banking laws and interstate commerce laws, is absolutely outrageous.
And not to mention the methamphetamines that are being used to treat the children for ADHD.
Oh, yes. Oh, we can go on. Oh, absolutely.
And the anabolic steroids
and the
for
list
inflammation.
of anti-seizure medications that they have to give to these poor kids when all you need to do is give them one of the high CBD preparations and
it has no euphoric effect whatsoever.
No, there is no. There's only euphoric. There are over 100 medicinal cannabinoids and terpenes in the marijuana plant. There is one that makes you high.
Right.
Delta-9 THC. If you don't have that in there, you're not going to get high.
Right.
Okay? And my products, and by far and away the overwhelming number of medicinal products, do not contain THC or contain a trace amount to help the entourage effect potentiate the effects of the CBD or other cannabinoid that's being used.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you who didn't get to listen to the first interview with Dr. Katz, I'd like to just point out that as a politician, he actually is a conservative and in New York.
Correct.
Yep.
On both of those. Conservative, New York. I also helped write the law and was a part of that sorrow experience of writing the law for the New York State, which 2 weeks before we put it to the legislature, they took PTSD out and they took out the ability to smoke it. 2 weeks before we that's thanks to the Governor Cuomo.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I was pointing this out is because it really shouldn't be a partisan issue whatsoever. And
100%.
Yeah.
This is a medical, ethical question that really, absolutely has nothing to do with bipartisan politics.
Yeah, and it's such a shame that it is. So, anyway, well, Tony, I wanted to go back to you. You're actually self-educated.
Correct. That's correct.
So, when Dr. Katz was telling me about you, I sort of expected you to be a double PhD like Jim Sharkey.
No, I didn't have the time to actually get my own PhD, but it turns out you can hire one.
Right.
Yeah,
That's true.
You can spend 10 years and you can give a guy money and he'll do it for you.
Yeah. Jim, what are your degrees in? You're double doctor.
Actually, I only have one PhD. It's in biomedical science, but my undergraduate I'm a biochemist chemist.
Okay.
So during my undergrad, I worked in natural products chemistry, so I was working with soft corals. So I've always kind of been leaning towards the natural products and medicines from natural products. So this is just kind of this odd, very odd little path to get around to this point. But hey, like I said, he can hire me. So.
Yeah. And prior to this, had you worked with cannabis?
Recreationally a long time ago. And
I don't know if we call that. That's not working.
Well, I was saying,
not working.
Yeah,
I guess.
That was another
different.
question.
Yeah.
Have you played with cannabis?
Yes.
But if but is in terms of professional life, has cannabis ever been part of your agenda before this?
No, actually, I was actually working preterm labor for my doctoral thesis.
Okay.
So I'd never really looked at cannabis for that. I was actually working with melatonin, another natural product for that. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of came to it. It was just very, didn't see this one coming.
Right.
It was kind of a joke in the firm who was going to get the partner's new client. He's actually bringing on a cannabis client. I'm like, oh, I'll be that guy. And sure enough, I did. And hey, it's paid off.
Yeah.
If you're a chemist, it ends up being what chemicals are you going to be working with, and then you can go and then you learn those principles. You learn, Jim is a very quick study, and he is certainly, nonpareil in doing research and gathering information. So we're very, very lucky to have Jim.
Yeah, I can imagine. And before that, aside from the recreational history, were you pro marijuana legalization?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's just there's no point in it. Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's just it goes back to the 50s movies where it was demonized. The reefer madnesses and whatnot, and it's just something that it's overly benign. Yeah. And then it just got a bad thing and it just stuck. Mm-hmm. So it's just a holdover from a much more conservative time. Yeah.
I've been speaking with so many people recently just about how, as users, medical users even, have to overcome this stigma and kind of looking over their shoulder when they're trying to make themselves well.
Well, it's amazing to think the number of people that I know who are in judges, doctors, hedge fund managers, financiers, bankers. I could go down, and inventors, and I can go down the list, all of whom smoke pot.
Right.
And it is in no way inhibited their trajectory professionally at all. As a matter of fact, quite a number of them, you just can't get much higher. Right. From the people that I personally know.
As for stigma speaking, I've always argued I have degenerative spine disease. I have a bad back, and I would take pain pills for years and years. I moved to Los Angeles, and I found medical cannabis and lab testing and proper environments, and I was able to completely stop taking any pharmaceutical drugs. 100% cannabis since the last 11 or 12 years. But I can't take it when it hurts. I don't have a way to stop on the corner and smoke pot anywhere I want to, but I can certainly take a handful of pills anytime you'd like. So the double standard is, this is a medicine. We're being prescribed this as a medicine, and then we're told where and when and how we can use it when we need it for certain things. When I'm walking around and my back starts to hurt, it would be great to be able to stop and use. And that's another thing that things like Quigley's helps with in my life, and things like our topicals that we're creating in our lab. But other than that, it's an insane climate. If you go to Denver, you can buy pot anywhere you want, but you can't smoke it anywhere unless you live in a house in Denver.
I see.
It's very difficult. Very difficult to find a place legally to even consume legal cannabis, let alone medical cannabis.
It's true. The law is basically you can buy it, but don't smoke it anyway.
Yeah, don't smoke it in Denver.
Don't smoke it anywhere.
Didn't that that changed recently?
Not at
didn't
all.
It?
Really?
No,
It started that way?
No, there's a handful of hotels. And if you don't have a home in Denver, you can't smoke it in your car. You can't smoke it in public. You can't smoke it in your hotel room. You can do it in only certain areas that are allowed in hotels that are weed friendly, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you have to buy it in Denver. You can't leave Denver with it. You can't use it in Colorado. So you tell me how great the rules are.
My point was that of these people that I see in conjunction with what Tony's saying, the idea that these people are considered criminals because they're performing a criminal activity of smoking marijuana
in public
is just
or
just
even
ludicrous anywhere. Just the act
anywhere.
of buying it just is so hypocritical that I'm certainly hoping that maybe in the next administration we'll get some more help down the line. And I'll be honest with you, so long as they just keep saying it's a states' rights issue, that'll be fine.
That's
too.
fine with me.
Yeah,
That's fine.
actually,
So long as it remains in the states' rights purview, that'll be fine for the overwhelming majority of the people who we are involved with in that circle of marijuana entrepreneurs.
And you let federally regulated, cannabis take hold, and you're going to have a whole other ball of wax here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one of the really important things about doing what we're doing and other media outlets and other individuals who are part of these big organizations trying to get the word out to the public is to try to encourage people who are of note, who have high-profile careers or they're celebrity of some sort or a politician of some sort, to actually come out and say, hey, yeah, I inhaled and there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And I think until that actually happens, it might be difficult for people to understand that, this is normal.
Well, and part of my love of therapists is this start of this is a product. We have CBD. We it works. We have success. We should give it to our animals. We see them benefit from them. Why wouldn't we benefit from the same things? Our studies will translate further and further into human use. We're doing that work. We're kind of laying the ground for more acceptance of cannabinoids as a medicinal benefit instead of just some drug.
We're about to go much more mainstream by leaving the dispensaries and going into health stores and pharmacies. So that is a huge game changer for the entire medical and certainly veterinary medical industry, in that we're taking it past the dispensary place.
Right. Well, you can get hemp protein powder on the grocery store shelf right next to right next to any other spirulina or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so there shouldn't be any reason, because it's just high CBD medication for pets, there's no reason it shouldn't be on the shelf next to Alpo.
And legally derived. And
legally derived.
Right.
So yes, that's true. But just like with anything else, we are involved in a process of massive education right now, because we have a whole lot of catching up to do in every ancillary industry that's involved, such as the pet industry, such as the veterinary medical industry. They are 25. No, when was 1936? That's how far behind
25.
they are. Okay,
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of teaching to do, and
Yep.
we're ready to accept that challenge. But we're going to be on the forefront of the education of pet and veterinary industry.
Yeah,
about
well,
this.
I would think that veterinarians would really get why this is so beneficial for pets, and I can't see any reason why. I mean, I know quite a few, and I can't think of any reason why any one of them would say, I don't want to carry that on my shelf.
Veterinarians want to see the results of cold, objective, clinical studies, and they will not prescribe anything unless they are that comfortable with what they are about to give their client.
Interesting. Okay.
And that is, I know that about my
colleagues.
colleagues.
You would, yeah.
I've been doing it for 30 years, and I can understand the reasoning behind that. They want, rule number one in medicine and in veterinary medicine is do no harm.
Right.
And you have to have an extreme comfort level of what you are prescribing, what possible side effects there are, when to expect any results, or at least the some sort of broad spectrum of when you could expect to see effects, and all those things they have to understand, be comfortable with, so that they can advocate for any given treatment. And that's a huge responsibility in the education, and that is why we are undergoing clinical study of our products, because that is when the veterinarians are going to come on board.
Yeah, and
then.
dogs can't tell you about the side effects.
No, but we can see them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and tell me about some of the clinical trials. What's coming down the pike?
We have a University of Pennsylvania double-blind study that's being done on the Therabis products.
Yeah. And
that is, before you have the likes of the big box companies and what have you sign on board, they too want to see legitimacy.
Right.
And legitimacy for them is the results of a clinical study from a major educational institution. And the University of Pennsylvania College of Veterinary Medicine falls into that category.
Yeah, sure does. And I know you mentioned it in our previous interview, but just for people who didn't hear it, when do you expect that to be completed?
We expect it I would expect sometime in early 2017.
Okay. So it's not far off.
No, not too far off.
Perhaps less than a year.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We will be monitoring them and the progress, and we'll be getting progress reports that really will not be able to be, published yet until they finish. But we'll know the direction that this thing's going.
Yeah.
Okay. Very much so.
Are you involved in that at all as well?
Yes.
Tony, you're
Tony is my partner.
Okay.
In
the study though.
Tony and Jim were responsible for the final formulation of all three products.
Right.
And so they're intimately involved in both the formulation and the production, ultimately, of whatever we
What I mean, though,
make.
is in the study. Because I knew that you were involved in the development of the product.
No, the study is only being done by professors and workers at the University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
The only involvement we have is making sure the formulations are correct, the dosages are being delivered properly, and interpreting that data. That's why we have again the PhD, who also has some a unique experience with clinical trials in veterinary clinics he worked in when he was doing his undergrad, I believe. Yeah, so he has some unique work he could probably throw down some knowledge about.
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, the great thing about it is, in the field right now, because there have been some studies done about cannabis and veterinary applications, but they've all been surveys. So it's a very subjective It's a very subjective study. You don't have that double-blind A/B testing.
Right.
So while it does provide some data, again, it's not controlled, and that's the advantage to the vet pen study. And we're going to have the animals be broken into different groups, test groups, and then some will get placebo and others will get active formula. And that'll allow us to see the differences. And I've spoken with the principal investigator there, and we've gone over their protocol, and they've shared that with me, and they'll be sharing the preliminary data with me that I'll be able to look at as well. And then, of course, we have to hold on to that because in the academic world, it's publish or perish.
Right.
And we would like to have them publish that in a journal as well to add additional support, because then you get that additional certainty of peer review.
Right.
So the stronger that study can be for us, and it's looking very good, as far as the way it's designed, the better. The stronger argument we can make for, hey, this product is safe, it's effective, and convince the veterinarians to be very comfortable in prescribing it to their clients and their animal patients.
Right. And it's all three, right? All three products?
Right now we're starting with two of the three because one is going to be a longer study. The Common Quiet is a longer study.
Oh,
and so we will follow up with those, with the Common Quiet. But and they will all be studied, but in all three, what was interesting to me is that nobody knows who comes in the subjects that this is Therabis.
Oh.
This is product X. Nobody knows what it, and apparently that's how it works in all clinical. I'm learning along the way right now. Nobody knows what this is, so it will not prejudice the results or what the observations even are of the owner.
Right.
Okay.
So if they have a certain bias,
right? If they said we're testing Therabis, they could go look up Therabis, look at our website, which is beautiful, and it might affect it in a positive way that that still would skew the results that we do not want to see.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting. It's an anonymous product.
Oh yeah, Yeah, we just, when we were doing the trial and the clinic when I was working for, we would just identify the animal with the condition we were testing, and then we would offer to bring them in to, would you like to be part of this study for this medication, and then explaining the nature of a double-blind study, and then go from there, and then the owner would consent or not, and then from there. So, yeah, we're trying to remove bias at all levels.
Right. And as far as the breeds are concerned, are you doing like subgroups of just certain breeds, or is it just whatever breed, a certain condition?
Weight, you go by weight classification.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't care what breed it is. It's what they weigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
Because there really is not that much of a breed differentiation, in terms of what its effects can be. Right.
But some breeds have different personalities than others, obviously. But
shouldn't really affect anything about the study. I mean, for example, dogs that have severe hip dysplasia.
Right.
That's an architectural problem.
Right.
Okay. So there still are going to be limitations even within the breed differences. Where there's only where I am in the Bronx, nationally hip dysplasia in a Rottweiler is about 3%. In my neck of the woods, it's over 90%.
Right.
Okay. Breathtaking.
Wow.
And so some of those would not be germane for the study.
Right.
Okay, because they're kind of beyond help.
So the study is going to look at things like, the weight of the dog and severity of the condition, and try to pair, similar weights and similar conditions together and receive dosages. And we figure that the study is going to determine dosage per kilogram levels and what the effective levels are.
Yeah, and it's a quantitative study. They're going to do certain tests with the dog to measure their response.
Before and after testing and monitor. Yeah, it's not just the owner takes the dog home. They stay there. They monitor the animal. They watch it. Take the product. They monitor it before and after.
Yeah, we're gonna send them to after they're finished. We send them to Paris Island to see how they do on the marine obstacle course.
Wow!
If they can climb a rope on a wall and they're done,
we're gonna find out if this stuff works or not.
They'll be super dog afterwards. Oh wow! Yeah. So I think it's going to be very interesting for people to learn. After the study, what it was exactly.
Well, what's important is that this is bringing it once again into the mainstream. That's what we're doing. We're giving legitimacy to a compound that is essentially new and being studied more and more, and we're now applying that to veterinary medicine. And so this is going to be a landmark study.
One thing about the Therabis as well is, we're allowing this product is out. It's being sold. It's sold nationwide. It's in pet boutiques. It's in animal hospitals. There are people that are adopting it now, which is truly amazing to me, because we see the results immediately, but it gives a great opportunity for those kind of stores to come in and pick up, groundbreaking products before they hit mainstream, before they become, locked down by Petco. They have the chance to actually stock these things and give them to the owners now, give them to the pets now, and see the results and increase their own sales with the groundbreaking stuff. Our website, therabis.com, is beautiful. It has, incredible videos and graphics and ways to use the product. And, we have something a lot different than almost anybody else in this space does. We have a professional, face, and we have a good working product. And this is a business opportunity for people as well. This gives you the chance to come in early wholesaler and actually turn this into a profitable situation that really helps pets. Most of these guys sell 30, 40 different products that don't do a lot.
Right.
And now we have the opportunity to actually have a product that does something and put it on our shelves and proudly sell it to our customers. It's amazing, really.
Yeah. What is the price point on Therabis products compared to, say, Cosequin, which is a pretty common...
Almost 1-to-1.
Yeah,
it's almost 1-to-1. $50 for the large dog and $30 for the small.
Yeah, we designed it to be competitive with just about everything.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good.
Yep.
That's
you
good.
got to be. It's a competitive field out there, regardless of what your formulas are. It's still competitive.
And my dog was on Dasaquin for years before I finally stopped. She's been on Therapist for over a year and a half. She's 16. If she was here right now, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe me. She was 16. She's up and she's running around so much. I have to give her the calm and quiet sometimes to calm her down. I'm not kidding. She comes in. You're like, you're going to kill yourself. You got to calm down. She's too old. She's jumping around, jumping over stairs. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts. I thought I was going to have to put her to sleep. I was detaching from my dog. Steve Katz brought my dog back to my family. He brought this formula. We added what we added to it. We started using it in both the treat and the powder formulation. We've been testing both for some time on my dog, and I have a new dog. I no longer think I'm going to put her to sleep in a year from now. I'm thinking, wow, she's got some years left in her.
She was our guinea pig. She got the original liquid formula that we were like pumping into her.
Yep.
Wow. A whole lot of it at a time too.
But she was on the ground. She wasn't standing up anymore. She was laying down on a ball all day. She was groaning. She was limping, and now she's like my dog again. It's not something you can describe until you've become detached from your 16-year-old, 15-year-old dog, and you're like, maybe next year we're going to put her to sleep. To thinking, wow, maybe she's got 4 or 5 years
left in her.
It's remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm very much looking forward to the formulas for cats.
We're in development. The only problem with cats is they don't all like to eat everything. So we have to come up with 3 or 4 different flavors. So the palatability is the only issue here. We're in palatability testing. That's going to take months. So
tuna.
You know what? You say that.
Tuna for cats, bacon for dogs.
No, they don't. That's not true.
No. Because I have the test cat.
Oh.
And he is beyond finicky. And tuna, we tried tuna, and it was repellent to him. So
really,
we've got some work to do.
You either have
wait
chicken
a minute.
or tuna.
So did you just put a flavoring of tuna in it, or was it actual tuna juice?
Oh no. We have there are companies that have clinical trials on palatability, even for animal food additives for flavor. So we have 99.99% palatable fish, tuna, chicken, beef, you name it, and and your cat will eat one of those. But it's only going to be 1 or 2. Yeah. It's never going to be all of them. You're always going to have a cat that hates chicken. Yeah. You're always going to have a cat that hates fish. It's just the way it is with cats.
When we do this palette, it'll be probably with about 50 cats, and it'll end up being 49 will like it, and Jim's cat's an idiot, so we don't have to worry about this.
Hey,
Jim's cat's obese. He's an obese cat. That's overfed. I think we got to call a foul on that trial, Jim.
He's the only available cat right now.
He's our only cat. What can we do?
I tell you what, the only way I can get any one of my cats to take their meds is to literally open up a can of tuna and put the tuna juice in a bowl and crush whatever it is in powder form and stick it in there.
Sure.
And it's gone. It's
the
only way
tuna
it works.
Fish. It works on 99% of the cats. They love that tuna juice. You squeeze it out of the can, and they're so happy.
No artificial flavor at all. It's just pure tuna juice from the can.
They love that, and that does work 99% of the time.
Yeah, and even with that god-awful white, I forget what the name of it is, the antibiotic that comes in a dropper form.
Metronidazole?
There's Clavamox.
Clavamox.
Which tastes awful.
Oh, I've tasted it, and it's just because I wanted to see why my cat was just freaking out every time.
Yep.
He saw me pull it out and get the dropper out. He's like,
with a cat, the problem with giving anything to a cat is that you can get it into anything into a cat once.
Once.
Right.
It's what happens after that
that
you have to consider. So.
Yeah, when they see it coming, you open the container and you'll never catch the cat.
You'll never see it again.
Yeah. Oh my God, we digress. But it'll be nice for people too, because I'm sure that the longevity factor of animals can be helped.
Yep, that's what it's about for me.
So.
At the end of the day, bringing this animal back to the family, taking your old dog, and it's we don't hesitate to give our grandpa 800 milligram ibuprofen to go hang out with the grandkids at Disneyland.
Right.
But when we think, we're going to give our dog something to help its mobility, help its life, or give it more time with give it the things that it enjoys. We never hesitate to do that with an elderly family member. But when it comes to your pet, you're like, it's getting old and we're going to put it down. Well, why don't you go the extra few steps? You care for your your elderly grandmother, you care for your elderly dog. And even if it's not elderly, they have issues that require daily maintenance sometimes, or just spot maintenance. Rides in the cars. You think that whining in the back, it bothers you. What about your poor dog that's crying in the back of the car?
Right.
You think he's having a good time and crying for 3-4 hours? Of course not.
Or now the monsoon.
Right. And then we have the other end of the spectrum of that, right now that I'm seeing quite a bit of it because I'm answering the medical questions that clients have about therapists, so I get those directly.
Right.
These are people who go so far beyond anything that you would expect someone in terms of taking care of a dog, where 90+% would have put them to sleep. I get questions like, right now, Doc, I'm treating my dog for bilateral lung cancer that's metastasized to the liver and the kidneys. Do you think that the therapist is going to help? He's currently on this, and this. Do you think that the therapist will help too?
Yep, that is the diametric opposition.
It is just, it takes my breath away, and it just reminds me just how strong that human-animal bond can be.
Oh, yeah.
So
and also because the dogs can't complain vocally. Unless they're whimpering, they can't speak and tell them how much pain they're in. Please put me down.
No, they can tell you though.
Yeah,
they tell you when they stop eating.
Mm-hmm.
When
true.
they stop eating, that's when they're telling you.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah,
I know.
But a dog suffering from stage 4 cancer could benefit probably more than any other
dog. To do
dog.
anything, if you want to keep your dog around as a palliative, to make him more comfortable, but still want him, and if you look, anecdotally, we have all sorts of stories of remarkable effects of CBD on terminal patients and otherwise extremely serious conditions, including, third and end stage cancer. Okay? But truly, right now, those are anecdotal.
Right.
We are not able to document that on any satisfactory level as a scientist. As a scientist. So that's the way you have to treat it.
Right.
That you're giving it to to make their these poor dogs more comfortable in their final stages of their life.
But last Halloween, my friend's dog, it was his last full day on Earth was on Halloween last year, and he was it was done. And we went over, we gave it some CBD. It was the night before it passed in the night. It was up and it was whimpering, and the family was holding it, and we gave it a little CBD. And did it do anything? It eased the pain a little bit. The dog went to sleep. They held the dog a little bit, and it passed. It was beautiful. Yeah. You could have taken it, and you could have taken it to the vet and all the stuff, but it was ready to go. It stopped eating, like Steve Katz said just now, and it was done. And we just did a little bit of relief. It was pretty impressive actually what happened. It was within 2 hours the dog was asleep and just drifted away. It was beautiful.
So the new formulations will have THC?
No.
All CBD.
The accelerant.
They're all okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
just have the accelerant. It works on the accelerant works on things other than just THC.
Absolutely, yes.
So that's why we're using it for fast acting effect on the conditions that we're working on.
Right.
No THC. Nothing. No.
Never. No.
Yeah. Well, and it still eases the pain just as much as
quicker. It just does it quicker.
Yeah,
right.
That's all.
Well, you get a more efficient absorption. With my formulation, doesn't just deliver fast. It also allows for a smaller amount to go a longer way. So let's just say with the Quigley's product, you can look at it at Quigley's.com, and it has a 10 and 50 milligram dosage. And people think, a 10 is not going to do it. Well, try the 10. It really does. It does a lot more than a 10 milligram edible ever will, because you get to absorb the dosage.
Right.
And same with CBD. If you're processing the liver, if you have a high fiber diet, lots of things can affect the absorption of CBD. And if we can get it into the soft tissue early, then we have a lot better chance of getting a greater dose, having a longer duration, and having a lot less go a lot longer, a lot farther.
Yeah.
And we've seen it work in dogs, already.
And humans.
That's all.
We do make CBD lab analogs for humans as well.
The bottom line, this is just an accelerant that changes the absorption and the place of absorption. So it really doesn't matter so long as it's a so long as it's a compound or a chemical that will work with the accelerant, you're going to get that effect.
Correct.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, it can carry a lot more than just cannabinoids, for example. It can carry lots of other things, but we use that in the cannabinoid space as a no-brainer, actually, for reducing the amount necessary, increasing the effects, and increasing their duration. It's a no-brainer in the industry. Absolutely.
So that's what we do over at the Skunk Works every day. All this sort of really neat stuff. And these guys are incredible. The products that they come up with and the processes that they come up with are, it's my favorite part of my job is being with these guys. So the scientist in me.
I can see why.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Very, very stimulating.
Very stimulating. Are you in New York also, Tony?
No, I'm here in
You're
Scottsdale.
Here? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what brings me here.
Okay.
Is these guys.
Okay. Both of you live here then.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, good. So, maybe we'll see more of you in Scottsdale as a result.
We're trying to get him to come down here. He'll break eventually. He'll get a house.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That would be great.
Look forward to it.
That would be great. Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if, for the people who think that all of you are completely whacked out to be giving anything related to cannabis to dogs, tell me what your elevator speech is. Jim, let's start with you. What do you tell people when they look at you sideways about this?
Oh, an elevator talk on it. Well, put me on the spot there.
Sorry. That may have been a bad way to phrase it to you.
No.
But.
Well, actually, Therabis is more than just CBD. Therabis, we have different ingredients. For example, premium greenlet mussel, which delivers anti-inflammatories and additional anti-inflammatory molecules. Then we also have, other vitamin C's, zinc. And then we come around to the CBD. And the CBD I just refer to as an unfortunately named wonderful molecule. It has wonderful applications, effects on the nervous system, on the body as a whole. And unfortunately, it just happens to be made by the same plant that makes CBD. Mm-hmm. So it's got amazing effects, non-addictive, non-euphoric, but does everything else between 7 to 10 times better than a lot of the molecules that you find out that are legal that you can pull off the pharmaceutical shelves. So,
good enough. Dr. Katz, quick question for you. The human endocannabinoid system is very similar to that of any other mammal, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it has the same CBD, has the same effect as it would on humans.
Yep, you've got CBD receptors in cats and dogs, and
it's all animals.
Yeah,
all animals.
Especially,
all animals.
They have them in reptiles. Okay, so yeah, that's all part of the journey right now of learning more about the endocannabinoid system in relation to the cannabinoids that we are going to be using and the response to the endocannabinoid system, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to be fractionating out the different cannabinoids and looking at their individual properties, and then be able to mix and match and come up with some absolutely incredible formulations.
Right.
But in terms of elevator talk, I want to go back to that for 1 minute, because I have two people who are beloved by me who give me a wonderful introduction. My partner, Tony, when he introduces me, he says, "This is Dr. Katz. He sells weed to dogs for a living." Okay, and when my cousin, who was the former ambassador to Spain, introduces me, she says, "This is my cousin Steve. He's in the pot business." Okay, so then from there I go and explain myself.
You explain yourself.
Go explain myself.
Yeah, and then how do your colleagues in the state assembly in New York refer to you when they know about this?
My colleagues, I have had nothing but the warmest relation with my colleagues, and when I went through well, we all call it the happy day around here, but when I went through the experience of being stopped by a police and they found a small quantity of unsmoked marijuana in my car, the response that I got from my colleagues when I came back to the assembly was, on my desk was a bag of Doritos and a small VW psychedelic bus model. So we've all had a real good time with it, but it was all good-natured and with lots of love.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And how about you, Tony? What do you tell people?
Oh, I don't get a lot of sideways looks. Maybe it's a circle I run in. But I introduced the product as a product that contains cannabidiol, which is a naturally occurring anti-inflammatory compound in hemp. And we also use great compounds like Pernican liculus, which is a green lip mussel sourced from New Zealand, non-defatted, used in lots of other healthcare products that you're familiar with, from GNC to, you name it, from pets to people. But we go the extra mile. And we use specially sourced ingredients that are not freeze-dried and don't have all of their beneficials sucked away. We actually go out and source our stuff and do a great job at providing a product that we know works and we know is beneficial to the pet. Mm-hmm. And, I don't get a lot of people come back at me and go, oh, my God, there's pot in that, after I say that. Usually they go, well, I'd like to hear more, and I want a sample, or I want to, give me a 30-pack. Yeah. So, for me, CBD isn't from pot. It's a naturally occurring compound found in hemp, and it's an anti-inflammatory. And if you want to give the effects of a natural anti-inflammatory, so you're not destroying your liver, but you're still getting the effect of a high dose of even ibuprofen, let's say, then this is a no-brainer for you. And not to mention, there's no glucosamine in our product, and we're already overdosing our animals on glucosamine. Right. So when we remove that extra bit, when we go the extra mile to say this is a real product that doesn't rely on traditional, mysteries that don't really work, and we deliver a benefit. I've never heard anybody come back to me and ask, is that made from pot? It's just the approach. And
as a clinician, and this will be the same in medicine, I did a little study on my own, and half the clients that I gave the therapist to for the different conditions, I went through the entire discussion of the endocannabinoid system and what CBD was and what it did and its effects, and I got 100% compliance of my clients. They took it. The other half, I said to them, here, take this. It's going to make your dog feel better for the condition he has. And I got 100% compliance from that. And that the reality is that's what people want from their doctor, and that's what they want from their veterinarian. Right. They want something that's going to help them for the problem that they have. They really don't care. God knows they don't care if it's oxycodone. Right. So, they don't care about that. They want their problem relieved or cured. And that is what is important to them, and that is our responsibility as the health care givers to make sure that what we're giving them is going to be effective and safe. Mm-hmm. And that is when the veterinary community and the medical community are going to be, in a very, very big way, prescribing CBD and its adjuvants to their clientele, to the patients.
Yeah. It's really still shocking to me how many medical doctors to this day are still saying out loud, I don't really think that you'll be able to benefit from this. And I know a couple of people who are dealing with serious health issues who have so far as asked their medical doctors, their primary care physicians, and they're like, well, I don't think you're going to benefit from it. I mean,
we're embryonic right now. The clinical studies are just starting to come out. There is going to be a period of time between the results of these clinical trials and acceptance by the medical community, because they've been so indoctrinated in a negative manner for so many decades.
Right. And, one of the great parts about cannabis is you don't have to go see your physician. You can go out and get it. You can go out and get a medical card. You can go to Colorado and go and see if it does something for you. You're not required anymore to wait for your doctor to approve. There's not going to be a side effect that you're not aware of at a small dosage. You can go out and find out. Yeah. And at least it gives us the ability to be empowered a little bit more. And I was on pain pills for 10 years before I found medical cannabis in Los Angeles, at the right kind, the right strain. And until then, I was going to the doctor and getting my pain pills. because I couldn't walk. I couldn't do the things I would do to live my life. And it took me until I moved to a place where I could be empowered to find my own solutions for these things.
Where they were more open
up to it. Yeah. So then I told my doctor, I'm not taking the pills anymore. I was like, why not? I said, I'm smoking cannabis. Oh, that's a bad idea. I'm like, oh, and the oxycodone wasn't a bad idea. Yeah. I was lactose intolerant for 5 years before I stopped taking those pills. And 6 months after I stopped and went on to medical cannabis, I wasn't lactose intolerant anymore. I mean, just figure that out. All of a sudden, I became lactose intolerant, and all of a sudden, I became not.
What I really love
was the commonality? Right?
The oxycodone, because it's a morphine derivative, it makes you constipated. Yep.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at the commercials that, are you taking a morphine derivative? Well, we've got the new pill that's going to let you go to the bathroom now. You'll be able. I mean, this is unbelievable.
And then,
unbelievable.
The side effects of that one require another
5 pills.
Just absolutely the nerve that is what they are foisting on us, and not allowing a remarkable natural product that is shown to be benign. That we can have. That we can have.
And at the end of the day, even after I was using the oxycodone, it wasn't cotton, it was codone. It was small doses, 15 milligrams a day. I still didn't have mobility. I wasn't living my life. I was just taking the pills to get through the pain. The cannabis, I lost 65 pounds. I was riding my bike to work. I mean, my life changed. Because of moving to LA right at the beginning of the cannabis boom and having a great bud tender named Eric, before they were called bud tenders, show me different strains, lab analysis. We'd never seen that before. And then I can go to a store and I can look at the analysis and tell you what I need, terpene concentration, whatever I want. And it's done. Yeah. It's difficult still.
Right.
You have to know what you're doing, but I haven't taken a pain pill in 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, we're hoping this will change.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, most definitely hoping this will change. Wow, what a great conversation yet again. Dr. Katz, thanks again for coming back.
Pleasure.
And Jim and Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For being here. And please join us again next week. If you'd like to learn more about therapists, you can visit them online at therapist.com. And if you'd like to learn more about what we're doing at the Cannabis Reporter, come on, visit us there too, thecannabisreporter.com. You can download today's show. And if you like what you hear, subscribe to our weekly podcasts and rate it on iTunes as well if you'd like. So I'd also like to thank our amazing engineer, Kyle Pratt, who happens to be celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday, Kyle. And thanks to all of you for listening. I'm Snowden Bishop, the Cannabis Reporter. And until we meet again, make it a great day.